Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gathering of Gachas, the only podcast that focuses exclusively on the games your parents don't want you to play. I'm Galen, the SoundGuy Firestone.
I'm Ranakel.
I'm Kite.
I'm Geisterfuchs.
We have a special guest interview today.
Oh, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Hello. And what happened last time, Galen? I heard you were from Vegas.
I was. Our very own Ryan is now a married man, as it turns out.
Congratulations to him. Also, he is very good at wearing blue suits.
He is very good at wearing blue suits. I brought, in honor of that, I brought my own blue suit to the wedding, and he outshined me in every one of his pictures, so I gotta figure that one out.
He objectively did, I'm sorry.
No, he did.
Oh, yeah.
I understand.
And he is the man of the hour.
Thank you for the souvenir, by the way, Galen. I like the picture.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. In fact, speaking of pictures, the pictures of the wedding even gave me motivation to go make a tour in the city and get myself some meat that was very pricey but very, very good.
Oh, right on.
Nice.
In a restaurant that is named the Blue Devil, so it's in town too.
Ah, I was wondering where that story was going and how that connected, but that makes perfect sense. Right on. Anyway, now that I'm back from Vegas, I'm in self-isolation mode, so I'm just trying to keep safe. You know, stay safe, wear your masks, don't infect anyone else, please, thank you.
Yeah.
Take your precautions, it's important. We like our audience alive.
We do like our audience alive.
Yeah.
You know what else we like? FFII. Let's go ahead and dive in, because we've got a lot to cover over the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do, because as it turns out with the FF2 event already, we're having 6 new units. Well, New Vision Awakenings included.
Oof.
So, let's start right away with the headliner, which is Firion.
Now, I remember Firion CG wasn't that well loved.
Firion New Vision is actually pretty decent.
Right on.
He is basically in line, he follows the steady progression of New Vision units damage. And he does Firion things, which includes damage and killers.
Yep.
His STMR is not that great.
And I heard his blood weapon is nasty.
His blood weapon is interesting, I'd say. But that's not even the main part of his kit. No, let's start with TMR, STMR, and Vision card.
Sure.
So, the TMR in question is a materia with 60% bow mastery, 30% sword, axe, and spear mastery.
Bow?
So, its only use I can see is if you're using a unit like Firion that wants to be a true double hand on one stance and true dual wield in the other, and you don't want to gear differently for both. But aside from that, it's not that notable. His bow, however, which is his STMR, is 180 attack, it's 50% LB damage, it's some bird killer because of course it's a bow, it's 100% native true dual wield, and it's, as a bow, a higher damage range variance. So it does a lot of damage for units that can equip bow.
Okay.
Which are not that numerous, but still.
So he brings the bow meta now.
I wouldn't say that, but he does use his bow if he can. Vision card. Only attack in a stat, but it goes up to 90 instead of 100. And it gives some bow, sword, axe, and spear masteries. And a guts effect at max level for FF2 units. So it's alright, but not really the best.
I saw the image in the Vision card, and it depicts the very first scene of FF2.
Yeah, the battle with the Black Knights, judging by
ambush with the Black
its
Knights, and all of them were, like, KO'd.
If you say so, I have never played FF2, and I don't intend to.
Well, I do. So I know. So, let's talk
Alright.
about something else about Furion.
His Kit. So, he does damage.
Okay.
Wind, Imbue, and Imperil. And he also has Blood Weapon, which is interesting because it's a chaining move with a pretty high modifier. And it recovers percent HP to all allies.
Ooh.
So if you have two Furions chaining together, you heal for like 72% everybody, or something
So
like
this
that.
was the this was the thing that I liked about Citrus so much, is that she had this sort of thing, a chain/heal combo.
Yeah, which Aerith does too, in the magic part of the world, and he does it a bit differently. It's alright.
Okay. I mean,
And
I just
then-
like any time you can have that sort of utility.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially since, aside from that, he's honestly not that original. Like, he's got his attack buffs, his LB fill rate, his beast killers, yada yada yada. Chaining moves start astray only. But he does unlock an absolute mirror of equity and a bolting strike move. And that's pretty much the same with his Brave Shift form. The main difference being that 1, he has bird killers, and 2, he has light elemental moves.
Okay. Light elemental's good, we think. Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's alright.
It's alright.
All right.
The good part is that he can switch between 2 elements.
Okay, yeah. That's fair.
Anyway, that's pretty much it for Furion talk. I told you we would be going a little bit faster on those units. And honestly, he's a DPS unit. He's a bit better than the one before, he's a bit worse than the one after.
Sounds about right.
Next comes probably a unit that's a bit more interesting, which is Maria.
Okay, so I remember... Did she ever get a base 5 version? My brain is telling me she might have.
Yep, she did.
Okay.
And I think that was a free unit at the time.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nope. She was a part of the launch units that are 3-star, 4-star.
I didn't ask
Yeah,
about
so
that.
she
it's
got a
not a
5-star.
5-star base. He was
And then
talking
she got
about
a 5-star
5-star
awakening.
base.
This Maria is 5-star base.
Yes. And she is interesting because, well, for first, while her TMR is not that amazing, it's just a bow with high spirit. Her STMR is a ribbon with also 40% defense and spirit and 200% LB fill rate. So, we like that.
You gotta love my status immunity items.
Oh,
if
yeah.
ever.
It's always good to have that plus a little extra. And then her kit is interesting because, well, she's a healer primarily, and she's kinda decent at that, with a good heal, a good AoE revive, some ability to cast Dispelga and Kuraja in the same turn.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but she also has a move with a 100 times physical modifier and 50% ignore defense. Which does inflict 99% damage to all allies.
What? Why? Ow! What? No! Don't do that!
I wouldn't dual cast it, that's for sure.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it's
Ow.
not dual castable, luckily.
Yeah, but it's an option if you want to gear her a bit weirdly and use her as a turn 1 burst unit. Finisher too. Like, it's not necessarily her best use, but if you're someone that likes jank builds, she has this fun option. But yeah, other than that, a healer with some Curse Word Awakened moves too, with spirit scaling and no elements. And that's it for Thoughtful Sister Maria.
Okay.
And then we have Minwus as the free unit. Minwus with his strikingly good looks.
He was a healer, remind me, right?
Yep.
Yes.
He is a white wizard, the very first male white wizard in the franchise.
I mean, it's the first game in the franchise that has units with actual personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Since it was more class-based before, but anyway. He has a free hat with 25% fire on light fist, and a free STMR with some spirit and a little bit of MP and a little bit of LB gauge every turn. When I say a little bit, it's 3 crits, it's not bad. But
That's pretty not bad, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as his kit, he is basically a worse healer than Maria.
Oh no.
I mean, he is free, so that kind of makes sense. He does have a little bit of utility in his ability to fill somebody's LB gauge on turn 1. But you don't want to do it in Dark Vision because that kills Minwus.
Yep. One of his cooldown skills instantly kills him.
That seems unhelpful.
Also, it's on a 25 turns cooldown.
Mm-hmm. That's even like referential because
I like to imagine the reunion where they design it and were like, 24 turns, that might be too powerful. 26 turns? Oh, no, underpowered. 25 turns.
Yeah, how did they come to that? How did they come to that number, I wonder?
It's a quarter of 100. It's nice and almost round.
That's fair.
Let's remember Nyx's cooldown skill. 20 turns. Everybody's LB gauges fills up.
Yeah, this is not as good as that.
Mm-hmm. But it's still referential because Minwus eats himself at the end. So does his LB, if I can remember.
It just does some damage, it doesn't kill him.
Near fatal damage, right.
Yeah. But yeah, not that great as a free unit, but if you absolutely need a healer, he heals.
Mm-hmm.
Fair
He's
enough.
still serviceable.
So just by comparison, is there a better free healer in play somewhere?
Rosa, I think?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, sucks to be Minwus then, unless you just started playing the video game.
Yeah. Then again, Rosa's main utility these days is breaking break gauges.
Yep. In the Chamber of the Brave, in the other quests, which uses...
Yep. Now, let's move on to the New Visions Awakening.
Okay.
Starting with Emperor. Emperor, good news, he is still a fire finisher.
I'm shocked. I'm so surprised. I thought they would change him.
Not only that, they even managed to find a way with his increased passive skill modifiers to have still him use fire from below as part of his optimal rotation.
Wow. Okay.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And aside from that, he has a fire skill that heals him HP, a fire skill that increases the fire from below modifier and casts LB, a fire skill that imperils, also a spirit break, which is pretty nice. It does also break your allies, but only for 10%, so that's alright. And yeah, aside from that, he quad casts now, and he burninates from below.
Okay, wow. Quadcast on fire from below sounds real scary.
Yeah, on a bigger fire from below too.
Mm-hmm.
Big enough to be usable, even though one of those skills, the MP healing one, it has a 75 times modifier. That fire from below is better, optimally.
Okay.
And yeah, no, he still keeps his niche, and it does it pretty effectively. and mage finishers are kinda rare, so yeah. Emperor is pretty good as far as New Vision Awakening go.
Alright, that sounds good.
Then we have Dark Knight Leon.
How did he end up?
Leon, well, he is basically very similar to Veritas of the Dark.
Okay.
Dark locked, absolute mirror of equity chains, and nothing really that stands out, I don't think. Oh, besides the way his wave-shifted form has some fairy killers.
Fairy
Yeah,
killers.
aside from that, yeah, fairy killers. But aside from that, he can imbue others with dark, and himself, and does dark damage, and dark, and absolute mirror of equity. There we go, that's your unit.
Alright.
And then we have Aileen.
I've always liked her. I stand by this. I'm really hoping she's good.
She's not. She's rather... I mean, between the fact that she's one of the worst units in world divisions of that rarity, and the fact she has Envy Awakening that doesn't grant her a multicast on her main form, there's gotta be somebody at Arim or Gumi that hates her for some reason. Because, like, her 7-star version at least granted her a pretty killer STMR, but aside from that, she has absolutely not received any love whatsoever.
That is a shame.
Yes, it is.
Not
Real
even
shame.
not even a multicast. I just missed that.
Yeah, no, she can just use her pilot driver, and that's it. Or use her skill that grants LB gauge to allies or machine killers, but not both, because that would be too powerful. Or she can brave shift. Thankfully, she can do that immediately on turn 1. And then she has a triple cast, with unit selection only, and only 2 of her skill deal damage. So even with her triple cast, she can only attack twice a turn. And one of those skills deals damage to her. Yeah, no, she's not good.
That
Sorry.
sounds awful.
Yes, it does.
Well,
So that's it for this batch of units for the FF2 event, and also Aileen is here. Official name, by the way. And the event itself had nothing really exceptional, but along with this event came a little bit of a temporary challenge,
Okay.
which was interesting. The training dummy.
Oh, right. I remember seeing screenshots of this.
the steel dummy,
Yeah.
where you have to clear it with less turns so that you can get all the rewards, and
Yeah,
you can
it's basically
exchange the.
The rewards are tiered depending on how many turns you take, and if you take over 5 turns, you can get some guild towers and NVX tickets. But if you kill it
Yeah.
in 5 turns or less, that's when you get the big stuff. Meanwhile, all the enemy does is have 4,500 million HP and taunt you with Monty Python references.
This but a scratch.
Oh, dear.
Exactly, but the reward
It
when you
does
get
that.
it under 5 turns is your choice of STMR between some very good ones.
Ooh.
Like, there are traps, don't get me wrong, like Dark Knight Cecil STMR that provides 100% double hand. Not true double hand. Double hand.
Double
Double indeed. But then you're getting things like Yin Yang Dual Hand, which is still a very good true dual with STMR. You can get Beach Girls and Winged Heart, which all provide very strong defenses in the material slot. Emperor's Ring, which is one of the best tank STMR. Edgar's and Sabine's Coin of Fate, which are both amazing.
Oh yeah, those were both excellent.
Like you're getting some really solid choices, and that's very interesting that they picked these.
Yeah. Something disturbs me, however.
What did?
Well, the 2 consecutive exchange events, they keep on adding Dark Knight Cecil stuff. What's up with that?
Maybe they just like the guy.
They shouldn't.
I don't disagree, but maybe they just do.
Yeah.
Yeah, first thing with Elena, and now this one. Either way, I finally got my true dual-wield resources up, so I bought Nagi's Yin-Yang dual hand.
Yeah, it's pretty useful. As for me, I had most of those. The only one that I was really missing is Emperor Shewa's ring, so that's what I took.
I don't have Edgar's coin, the summer units STMRs,
Yeah,
Ram's ring, Shira's ring.
Point being, it's nice, it's short, and it provides a good reward. And it's not that hard, you just have to bring a Tifa.
Yep, I did that.
Yep.
And
Now then, let's move on to the banners they've been putting out. Because there's been the regular banners, of course, but they've brought an interesting twist on the old 10 5-star guaranteed.
Okay.
Now we're having a 5-star guaranteed step up.
Oh, interesting.
So you got a 5-star guaranteed for 500, and then you get 2 for 1,000, and then you get 6 for 3,000, I believe. So that's 9 total, yeah. And you get some additional rewards, like I think there's some Trust Moogle somewhere along the way. And on the last step, you also get guaranteed 5 5-star Select Summon tickets. And also, you can get new vision units at the normal rates from those.
Okay.
Which is how I got my 6th rain.
Your 6th rain, nice.
Yep.
that's how I got my, I forgot, 1 STMR from something. Can be 1 STMR from something. I think it's Rems. Yep, it's Rems.
Rems STMR, which was in the selection for the STMR dummy trials, by the way. Well, the old Rem, that is, not the newer one.
Yep, I got the new
Because there's
Rem.
2 5-star bases Rem, so yeah.
Yeah, and then the newer one is... Or sorry, the older one is just 30% HP and MP, which is seriously outclassed at this point. Or no, that's the TMR. What am I talking about?
The STMR is the 40% SP... Spirit, Magic, 40 flat Spirit and Magic.
Right,
On an
that's actually
accessory.
still pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
Yeah.
Especially on Aerith, since she's very much a mage slash spirit user.
Which is funny how she's somehow less optimized in FFPE than she was in FF7. Like, you actually have to split stats in FFPE, and in FF7, the one stat ruled everything, is what made her so good.
Given that you can equip for both the Brave Shifted form and the base form, it's actually not that bad.
Okay.
Anyway, then we had the arrival of another set of units, which was the continuation of the NVX Star event, and where we having Madame Edel's new Vision 4.
Okay.
Punk Star Edel.
Yeah, because her Brave Shifted form reversed to a younger self, where she was having a different sense of style.
Shorter hair.
But still, I allow for punches.
I mean,
No then.
if it was Edel and she didn't punch stuff, I'd be sad.
Yeah.
She's still punching stuff. I mean, that's her signature.
Yep.
TMR is 50% LB damage and 50% true dual wield, so that's good. STMR is a 188 attack glove with 50% LB damage, and another cast for a 250% attack buff. So that's pretty nice too. Especially given that high attack LB damage, even if you're not using her, that's some Tifa materials if I ever saw one.
Yep, something that Tifa likes.
Indeed.
LB damage, Chudo wield.
What she could also like is this 100 attack vision card with 100% fist mastery and 30% attack on top of that for FFII units, which depict the time where she punched a bird.
Punch the bird. Yep, that's
I'm
the
sorry,
Madame's.
it does.
It's the first level of the Ancient Ruins.
Right, I remember that.
And she did punch a bird.
She did, in fact, punch a bird. Can confirm. I remember this.
She did punch a bird. One punch, madame.
And yet she does not have bird killers in her kit.
Aww.
No.
She does have stone killers, however, especially with her ability to increase stone killers for everybody in the party, and at the same time mitigate damage from stone monsters by 15%.
Stony.
Also, she can fill analyze LB gauge without killing herself, which is innovative.
Impressive.
And she can self-imbue with earth or dark. And when she does meh damage on her normal form, but when she brave shifts, that's where she brings the pain, including the return of her way to use cooldowns that start very late in the fight and turn her into an unstoppable bulldozer of pain. Things like a cooldown that starts on turn 3 and does high damage, and then increases the modifier for most of her important damage skills, and then increases it further 3 turns later, and then increases it further some turns later. And then she has a high modifier finisher, but still not as powerful on paper as Thoughtful Sister Maria's finisher, by the way. But it doesn't almost kill your entire party. And yeah, she has a final skill that does deal more damage with a 350 times base modifier. But you can only use it from turn 12. But yeah, point being, she is this slow charging juggernaut that eventually completely annihilates things and can eventually do more damage than even Tifa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're finally reaching the point where some units can, on average, given enough time, given enough proper elements and the like, rivalize the 3 units everyone has got.
Yeah.
And honestly, I can't be mad that it's starting with Madame.
Yeah.
This is one crazy punk star, Edel.
And we like her like that. Still hoping to pull for her, but right now I'm short of on resources, unfortunately.
I'll just summon her whenever, either off banner or something.
That's the hope. Now then, we also have 2 other members of her entourage as part of this banner. We have Lexa, Blossom, the mage, which has some unremarkable equipment, like a magic mastery TMR that also provides a bit of risen resistance, a staff with some attacks that fills your LB gauge and increases a bit wind damage.
Okay.
And as for her kit, it has 3 skills.
Just 3, huh?
Which really drives home how much the 5-star base are the new 4-star base of the game.
Yep. That's why the skill kit is extremely poor now.
Technically, she has 2 skills that are triple casts, so that doesn't count, and 2 that are cooldowns. The rest is just a Wind Imperil, a Curse for Awakened wind damage, and a Bolting Strike wind damage. That's it.
And don't forget the triple black magic. She still has access to wind magic.
Oh no, I mentioned it.
Yep.
Right.
And then you have Elbis, which is very much the same, but as a fire attacker with a Stardust Sway chain.
Yeah. That was the muscles guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
He rips out his shirt in his victory pose.
As he should.
And
yes, same thing even with the equipment. A little bit of fire damage, fire resist on an attack increase, and they didn't even change the name of his STMR compared to his former TMR. It's still Blazing Blade Agni.
They didn't even... Oh, wow, that's going to make searching for items a real pain.
Yep.
Isn't the original is Flaming Blade?
Oh yeah, Flaming and not Blazing, my bad.
Okay, so there's a slight
difference,
but that's nice.
Yeah. But
I remember once upon a time, his sword was actually pretty good.
Yeah, and this one is decent, the problem being that we already have another STMR tier 200 Fire Greatsword. Another element would have been better, but it wouldn't have fit him, of course.
Right.
And it's the fire version of Arngrim's STMR.
Yeah, but there's also one of Rain's STMR which provides similar effects.
Yeah, but his is non-elemental.
Is it now? Pretty sure there was one that was elemental. Anyway, moving on to the last unit we're going to talk about, which is Naru.
Oh!
Yeah.
The Curl Rider.
I like her. I didn't expect to like her. She was a case where when she first came out in Japan, her design, I don't know why, it just didn't click with me. But then her story event happened and I completely fell in love with her, and then I got her not too long later and was very happy about that. And used her quite consistently, despite bad frames.
Yeah, and they gave her good frames this time.
Yay!
They gave her an amazing Grave-Shifted sprite.
Okay.
Where she reels up and the Quall's mustache light and crackle with electricity.
Ooh.
And her kit and damage are actually pretty good. Like, she's at least on the level of a Pyroglacial Laswell. So
well, this all makes me smile.
A pretty good unit to awaken, and that's nice of her. Her only limitation being that she is locked to lightning purely.
I mean, that is on brand for her, and that is a pretty serious limitation, but we've seen a lot of element-locked NVAs, so that's not that surprising.
Yeah, like that doesn't play too hard against her. And yeah, no, her kit is solid, it does damage. It even has some self-utility with things like some 10 stacks of evasion for those physical heavy fights you can't mirage effectively with.
Right.
Some LB feel for an ally too. But other than that, she's just a pretty good lightning unit, and honestly, we take those.
Okay.
I only got one novel throughout, so I'm missing out on NVAs.
Yeah, I don't have enough of her to awaken her either, but she's a pretty decent option.
I think I had her STMR when I stopped playing. I feel like I just gotten Vajrayana.
It's still pretty good, too.
I mean, it's an STMR level spear, so obviously that's going to have its share of potential uses, but yeah, obviously.
And it's also lightning elemental, which helps with elemental chains and dark vision. It's still good.
Alright, and that's it for our FFBE talk.
Hooray!
We managed to do it in under an hour, even though there were 10 units to cover.
Yeah, and rumor has it that there's something spooky about some...
Well, no, it's not
Yeah.
rumor has it really. It's just that Halloween is approaching, and of course they're going to make an
We're
Halloween
gonna
event.
find out next week. Yeah.
I'm
I wonder
looking
what-
forward to
I
it.
wonder
Usually the
what's gonna
Halloween
be.
units have been pretty standout, but this is going to be our first one where they have to actually kind of take a look at the global original people. So I'm very interested to see how that ends up playing out.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to Neovision Lilith, sorry.
And Halloween is still my worst ever 0 5 stars from the seasonals there. Everybody
Well-
else has 1 or 2.
I
Who
mean,
knows?
I am, despite not playing anymore, I am looking forward to NVA Lilith, which I really hope she gets, because boy, howdy, did I like her. She was one of my all-time favorite units.
Let's look forward to it, but now,
Yep.
let's move on.
Let's move
For a
on.
time she
Oh,
made my arena life hell.
Sorry?
I said for a time she made my arena life hell.
oh, she makes everyone's
yeah.
arena life hell. That's like half of her job. The other half was being
Yeah.
a shockingly good magic tank.
Yeah,
Indeed.
that's also my case with Lilith.
Yeah.
For like 1.5 years until I got my anti-Lilith and Lucas weapon, which is Kryla.
In any case, let's go ahead and move on to Arknights. There is not a whole lot to talk about in Arknights. We have a free stuff event where your daily missions will give you free stuff.
Free stuff!
Free stuff! Basically, just a bunch
We
of
like
crafting
free
mats.
stuff.
Yeah, we like free stuff. We'll take them.
I think at this point, we like free stuff could pretty much be the podcast's tagline.
It probably could. It probably could. And then there's a standard banner of Ifrit, Nightingale, and then 3 old 5 stars.
That are not Ifrit nor Nightingale.
That are not Ifrit nor Nightingale. Cliffheart is pretty good, and we are getting costume reruns, which is cool. So I was able to get those.
customer runs. Nice.
Yeah, I was able to get those 2 costumes, which I didn't have before. So once upon a time, back during Chen's original banner, 2 things released: her office and then 3 costumes for random people. Once I got Chen, I actually bought my first paid costume in the form of Exvius because, well, she has Deal With It shades, and I really needed some Deal With It shades at that point, so I bought her costume. Didn't buy the other 2. Well, Chen's office and those 2 costumes are back, so that collection is complete. Yay!
All right. Shades unite.
Yep. But, yeah, no, it wasn't a, it is a slow week. That is, I just went through all of the Arknights news that took 2 minutes.
All right.
Yeah,
Then
they
let's
really
move on
set
to...
back.
Yeah, they took some chill time, which is good. We needed it. We had 3 hard banners in a row. Like, let's take some time to rebuild. Because,
Thank you, Arknights, for letting us breathe.
yes, thank you for letting us breathe. We do have some data mine information that Chapter 7 and possibly the Dark Knight Memoir event might be coming soon, but that's entirely speculative at this point. But that's it. That's Arknights. Huzzah! Let's move on. What's next?
Next is Genshin Impact.
Fun.
More Genshin Impact
Can I
has
talk about some
happened.
food stuff there? Just kidding.
Talk about some food stuff there.
Well, yeah. Ever since I've observing the chat around, I keep on seeing Paimon being,
Well, that's
Yeah, this
because
is the
since
one
you
good
can't
joke of
run
the game being beaten into the ground.
But, I mean, honestly, there's worse indicators for the health of a game that memes being run into the ground and an impressive amount of NSFW fan art.
Well, that I am not familiar with, so I'll have to take your word for that.
Well, mine and Geisters, I assume.
Well, you're the one who
Not
said
on
it.
Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a bit of an
But
announcement
yeah, no.
about Genshin, actually.
By all means.
I'm quitting Genshin.
All right.
So,
okay.
I want to kind of talk about my reasoning, and we're going to get into part of this later, but there was 2 big breaking points for me with the game. First, the thing on here is the jank, and I want to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart in regards to this jank. The mobile controls.
Oh, yeah.
which are hideous.
I mean, a lot of the controls have problems, starting with the fact that you still cannot remap them.
You still can't remap them, which is my cardinal sin of games, but they said they were going to.
Yes. But fixing the mobile control sounds like it would be even harder.
Oh my goodness, the mobile controls are completely unresponsive, but they also track your direction. So even if it has a static control wheel, if I hit the back button, it'll still go forward the direction I was facing. So about half the time, I would end up climbing a wall I didn't want to climb, despite explicitly and deliberately hitting a different direction than the way we're going. It's great.
I mean, climbing walls you don't actually want to climb is like 10% of the gameplay.
It is, but it's more like 80% on mobile, which is way worse. It's bad. It doesn't respond well.
To that.
Connectivity is awful. I had to get carried through like everything. Most of what I play gachas for is mobile. I play a lot of console games. I play a lot of big titles
games
of a general purpose. And that's essentially what Genshin is. But they have the mobile client. It's just terrible.
I mean, honestly, it was at some point of the design they probably had to make a choice between making something that will impress on PC and also kinda exist on mobile, or making something that works on mobile and also kind of exists on PC.
I genuinely would have preferred the latter choice, and they went the former.
Well, let me tell you about Grand Blue Fantasy.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Never mind.
I'm slightly familiar with it, because I know it got localized, but never actually released, and I know Nobuo Uematsu did some of the music.
Yeah, and it's not a bad game, but it's a very old and established gacha game with all that it implies in terms of systems on top of systems on top of systems. And also the rates are horrible.
Yeah, I believe it. Which actually brings me to my other big break with Genshin, and that is...
I was hoping it would.
Yeah, and that is a level of gacha fatigue which I have literally never faced before. So here's the thing with Genshin. It is essentially a big, giant console-style game. And now as far as... Now, the obvious comparison to Genshin is Breath of the Wild, but I didn't play much of Breath of the Wild. I rage quit that one very quickly, largely for control issues. But, my issue with... but to me, the game it reminds me of the most long-term, despite obvious gameplay differences, is in fact Mad Max, which I put a lot of hours into. Now, obviously, it's hard to compare them on their face, because, you know, Mad Max has cars, and has shotguns, and has a completely different combat system.
And has chum buckets, which is almost too precious for the show.
Chum bucket is wonderful. But, the general gameplay loop of the exploration of the collection is similar enough that it occupies a similar gameplay space in my mind.
Yeah. It's an open world game.
Yeah. It's an open world game with a focus on finding stuff. In Mad Max's case, finding also goes with blowing stuff up, but the general gist is there. And then I started thinking, when it comes to Mad Max, how much I would like it if, say, the cars were in a gacha system, and I realized I would hate that game.
Yeah.
And that brings me back around to Genshin. Taking the Breath of the Wild formula and making it party-based and adding these elemental reactions is a really, really cool gameplay device. I really like it. And then they hide all of the potential of it behind a gacha system with terrible rates.
But they do.
And it makes me feel like for the first time in a gacha game in a very long time, that the gacha system is genuinely holding the game back, and holding my enjoyment of the game back. And the fact that my last pull gave me yet more dupes, I'm just like, I want to experiment with new things. This is a brand new game. Let me play with these characters more than you're like, go ahead and try them with this prefixed party. Let me experiment. The characters being behind a gacha is one of the biggest mistakes of the design of this game, and as of a couple of days ago, I just sort of threw my hands up and said, you know what, enough is enough. I am getting frustrated. I am getting tired. It's a big console game, and I could get this big experience from other games, including another open world game with a party system that's coming out in like 2 weeks as of recording, which again, probably doesn't seem too similar on the face of it, but when you actually kind of look at it, it makes a lot more sense, and that's Watch Dogs Legion, which is coming out like end of October. That's also an open world game where you get to swap party members and you have exploration as a high point. Now, obviously, major gameplay is going to be very different. You're going to get, like, the sci-fi stuff and the hacking. But again, similar enough to occupy the same mental space, but without the gacha system. I know I can get the characters. Yeah. I played the beta.
And you mentioned mental space, and I think that's really where it's focusing. It's basically the angle, and you've said from the start, your angle is that it is a game that stands on its own with a gacha tacked on it. That's not how I see it, because I feel like the integration is a little bit more intricate than that, and that's why I can enjoy the game in ways you can't anymore.
Yeah, pretty much, unfortunately. So yeah, if they ever fix the gacha system and make it make more sense, I will maybe give it another shot. I'm not like rage quit dead forever mode, but yeah, as far as me playing this game, I'm like, done.
Given that it's free to play and the like, I could definitely see like coming back every now and then when they've released a new region or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. If you come back in a year or so, you have probably a much bigger game in front of you.
Yeah, which I might
maybe
do.
a refined gacha system.
That would be fine. I would totally accept and enjoy that. But for now, my journey in Tevat is finished.
As is your right.
Yep.
Ours continue, however.
Please
so let's discuss about some of the units, starting with the completion of the freebie squad.
Let's do it.
Last time we were talking about the animal main character as well as Amber, Lisa, and Kea, and Noel. Now let's talk about the other characters you can get. One from exploring southwest enough, and the other two from reaching adventure level 20 and clearing far enough in the Spiral Abyss.
Yep.
So let's start with the main character Geo variation.
Okay.
Which you indeed get from touching a Geo statue of the main character and attuning to it.
I hated Geo main character. Just absolutely.
Many people do, and that doesn't mean the Geo main character is bad at all. However, I would 100% agree that it feels worse to play.
It is not as fun as Wind.
Yeah, it's mainly used, at least by me and many I know, for puzzle solving, because the skill is essential for many puzzles in Leo.
Pretty much.
Indeed.
And, well, for memes.
Not just for memes, it's actually good. Like, the Starfall does a lot of damage if you upgrade the talent properly, because I feel some people upgrade their talents for the animal side and then switch to Earth and Sea lower power, because in part the skills are not as upgraded as they are on the anime side.
Right.
But the Starfall is a big burst that comes right away, and that has a cooldown of like 6 seconds. And it creates this obstacle that can help climb, but can also help as a bit of a barrier. It's especially useful for like the Ruin Guardians with their missile barrage, which is annoying to dodge. Here you can just hide behind your pillar, and you're good. And then you have the Elemental Burst, which is a big old wave of earth that leaves this crown of earth around, that also provide a bit of a barrage, and can help not only with the cover, but also it gives a bit of a buff. And the fact that the blocks and the critical buff from staying inside of the arena you essentially create with your elemental skill, means that you can use your main character as a bit of an offensive support character, while the main character, Wind Elemental, has literally no use once it's not the one helming the party. So that's also an argument.
Okay.
It's definitely trickier to use, and not as satisfying to use as just you stand near a campfire and you're swirling and everything is on fire and you go ah ha ha psh, 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 and it's great.
It is pretty great.
You won't have that on the Earth Elemental main character. But you can take a completely flat arena in, say, Spiral Abyss and turn it into a labyrinth where most of the enemy AI get stuck everywhere, and so you can take them one-on-one.
That is a very interesting use of that ability. My issue with Starfall was that it was very, very difficult to aim, and usually made more of a problem for me in terms of obstacles than it did the enemy. And then there's the fact that it would also get caught on other stuff out in the world. The amount of times I had a Starfall land in a tree and do nothing was significant, despite playing with it very little compared to Wind.
It can even get worse, because some of the jank in this game is also on the enemy leashing range, which can get pretty messy when you knock them off cliffs and the likes. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can even just bump an enemy on top of your block of Starfall, and they just assume you're not there anymore and start slowly walking back to their starting spot, being completely vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So there are disadvantages, and there's definitely some things you have to fiddle with the main characters, some which are not deliberate.
Yeah.
But that burst is no joke, and don't underestimate it.
No, when it actually hit, it did fairly significant damage, even technically underleveled. I was aware of the amount of damage it was doing.
Now then, let's move on to Xiangling.
I like her.
She's pretty good. She is, for starters, she's the only spear user in the game at the moment.
Which is funny that she owns a whole weapon category, but...
Yeah, others will come eventually, but for now it's just her, and she's pretty good at it.
Okay.
Because spears hit a lot.
They do.
And the synergy is especially powerful with one of the craftable spears. Because the ability the second craftable spear does is not very clear. You read it quickly and you think, oh yeah, once you get elemental particles, you get 25% increased damage. That's not what it does.
Right.
What it does is that it does damage with a 25% potency on each hit, including the four quick hits, making the 25% bonus hits hit harder than her main attacks.
Ooh!
And she strikes fast. She can be used in this way as your main attacker, but her main utility is as an offensive support.
So Tom in the chat is asking, isn't Xiao a spear user? I don't know who Xiao is. I've never seen Xiao.
Xiao isn't in the game yet.
Xiao isn't in the game yet. Okay, that answers that question.
He will be a wind elemental spear user with an air dash. But right now he isn't in the game. I mean, maybe he's in the code, but you can't pull for him.
Okay.
Anyway, back to Xiangling. Her main utility is as an offensive support character. Because what she can do is drop her bear, make her spear twirl around her, and then you can switch to another character, and you still have these effects active. And it's important to have characters like that, because having one strong character is good. Having one strong character while the offensive effects of 3 other characters are active is even better.
Yes.
And if you have her beer leveled enough, he will leave a little chili behind that can buff your character.
Exactly. It leaves this chili behind, and that's 10% attack bonus for 10 seconds. Overall, most of her skills enhance the bear, which is good and bad, because the bear is cute, and the fire does a lot of damage, and it does this damage 4 times, which means that if you can provide, say, thunder damage pretty consistently, you can make, with a single press of a button, an enemy explode 4 times in a row, which is pretty good.
Yes.
It does have the issue that it is, you plop it in one spot, and then you have to wait 12 seconds to use it again. You can't reposition it easily. It can be moved by, say, the main character's tornado, which swallows Goba's, Goba along with the enemy.
Yeah, it's essentially a static turret that you have a very hard time dealing with otherwise.
It's
Exactly.
pretty funny
So-
if you suck it in with Sucrose's Q.
Exactly. Or Venti, I imagine, has a fair amount of synergy this way too. But it's not as convenient as, say, Fisher's Bird, which you can reposition every second, and which strike with a longer range.
Right.
There, for instance, if you just put it next to, say, an Ice Mage, and that right after you put it down, the mage teleports away, well, you're out of luck for the next 12 seconds.
Yep.
Which has happened to, I believe, everyone here.
And this is why I tend to, when I deal with those mages, ignore Xiangling and just use Amber to shoot them in the face.
Makes sense. But yeah, overall, good offensive support.
Yep.
Leave something on the table and then can make way, or can spearhead your team composition, pun intended, with her very strong attack.
Yeah, I remember liking her attacks quite a bit. She was one of the cleaner attack strings in the game that I was able to play.
Indeed. And then you have Barbara. Barbara, which is a healer, and a good one at that.
She is a good one. Very much a heal bot for me. Also, my Gacha's favorite, unfortunately. I got like 5 of her and almost no one else.
Yeah, well, Galen, meet Geister. Geister, you have more Barbara than Galen.
Oh dear.
Yeah, my Barbara is Max Constellation.
Nice.
So that's 6
Wait,
duplicates.
what's Constellation? How does Constellation work?
That's buffs for dupes, is what that is. Very significant stat and utility ups for dupes of a character.
Yeah, and Barbara's dupes are not to be underestimated. Like, it's not as exciting as having a new character, but having a passive way to re-raise one of your character if Barbara is in your party somewhere is pretty nice.
Oh yeah, no, Barbara was an excellent healer, and if I had more variety of units, I'd be very happy to have her significantly pushed. But every frickin' time I get a character, it was Barbara, and I'm just like, can I have somebody new? There's like 18 characters in the game right now. I already have this one. I get she's powerful. Stop it.
Yeah, understandable. Anyway, when you say she's powerful, that does not include the damage her auto-attack deals.
Which isn't much.
Because that is bad.
Yeah, that is not what you use her for.
Yeah, that is not what you use her for. No, her charge attack. Though these two will get some use thanks to her E.
Yes.
Because her E is on a pretty long cooldown. I think it starts at 32 and goes down to 27 once you have a dupe.
Something like that.
2.
Yeah.
And it does a lot of things. So it makes you wet.
Which is a problem when you're up against ice enemies. When she was my only healer going up against the Ice Wolf, that was problematic.
Very true. It makes other enemies very close to you wet as well, which can be very helpful.
Yes.
Conversely.
How is that?
Well, if you switch to an electric character, it does some zap stuff. If you switch to a fire character, it vaporizes, which does additional damage. Just basically forcing elemental reactions. If you switch to ice, you can freeze people, so on and so forth.
There's a very intricate elemental system, yes.
There really is, and I wish I could explore it more.
Sounds like FF15's Elemency.
It's more effects that are in the world, kinda. Anyway, so she does that. While she does that, she also have a regen ticking.
Yes.
Which works on the active unit. So if you use this E and then switch to another unit, you have like 3 ticks of regeneration, which heals the unit.
Which I basically always did.
Yeah, because the alternative to heal is that while it's active, her auto attacks and charge attacks heal your entire party.
Yep.
And given the difference between, say, Noelle, which can heal your party but only when she's the one active, I really like that there's this option to either use her actively if, say, the entire rest of your party is in trouble, or to be able to pop her, use her E, and get her out of here if, say, she's in trouble and the rest of your party also needs a bit of support, but less so than her.
The other thing with her E plus auto attack combo is that it will actually heal your allies in co-op.
Yeah, that it does.
Which is extremely potent if you have one of your people in co-op. Oh, co-op jank, love it. When you have one of your people in co-op deciding to be a support or a healer.
Yeah. And lastly, she has her Q, which has 2 uses. Her elemental burst, that is. The main use, the only one that's on paper too, is that it's a big burst of heal for everybody.
Yep, big old heal bomb.
Yep.
She, according to Tom, she auto charges her burst, which is wonderful.
Yeah, she does it only when she has either her first dupe or her third awakening, something like that. But yeah, she auto-charges her burst even when she's not the active party member.
Yep.
So if you wait long enough, you can always start a fight with a heal in your backpack. And the other use, however, is that it has like 2 seconds of invincibility during its animation.
Yep.
So if you don't think you'll be able to dodge something that will absolutely murder you, you can just press it as a panic button, just breeze right through and have everybody healed.
Animation iframes, hooray!
Yep. So yeah, she is very solid in that regard. Her main limitation, because as a healer, is pretty much a lot of what you'd want.
Yeah.
The main problem is that the main challenges of the game are timed, and so you want to squeeze as much damage as possible, and she's not the unit for that.
No, she is not.
Not cool.
Well, great for exploration, okay for the web.
Yeah.
As Barbara.
Basically, if you're able to time it so you can get the regen off and then switch to a power hitter, that's kind of optimal if you're dealing with her in the time challenges, but that's not always going to be the way to go.
Oh, but by the way, now that I think of it, important stuff about some of the challenges, the domain one. Because in this situation, being wet helps a lot, because it can dispel the debuff the room apply for things like lowering your stamina, or lowering your energy recharge, or dealing consistent damage.
Right.
So it's a small sort of Izuna kind of situation, too. Which makes sense for a healer as well. Now then, since last time of recording, we are a few hours away from here disappearing from the banners for the foreseeable future, we may have to talk about Venti a little.
Yeah,
Does anyone here have him?
No, but this is actually one of the things that also bothered me about the gacha, the game. The very first real banner is limited?
It feels like they're just going to rotate the limited banners, and maybe they'll update the default summon to include former units or something like that.
From what I've heard, they have some kind of a limited rotation. Venti is going away now, Klee is coming on the 20th, and what I have heard rumor-wise is that Venti will be back in about 6 months.
cool.
Like, this sounds like the size of a Starbucks cup.
Well, yeah, that's the word.
Oh, I get it. No then, as far as Venti goes as a unit, basically he is a heartless, murderous crowd control machine.
Yeah.
He has some abilities that are useful for exploration too, like the ability to create wind up currents everywhere.
That is awesome. That is easily one of the coolest things about his ability.
Yeah, and if you don't want to use it for exploration, you can use it to set up enemy air juggles.
Yep.
And then his elemental burst is basically an enhanced version of the main character's tornado. It pretty much works the same, but it's bigger, meaner, and it stays more in place, so you can throw more murderous and explosive and thundering things in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that,
swirl of
he's an
doom.
archer. So that can be useful too, with some abilities to have triple shots and the like.
Yep. Archers, wonderful on mouse and keyboard, hideous on mobile.
I don't even want to imagine that.
It's not great. It's not great. I tried Amber while I was in Vegas. It was not great.
I can imagine.
Aww, that sounds pretty bad.
Okay, now then, last time was still the first week of the game. Now we're 3 weeks in. The pace is getting a bit more of a known quantity.
Yeah, and people are starting to get grumpy.
Yeah, that's a bit of a double-edged sword that's hitting them back a little, because, as we've said before, the game is attracting a lot of eyes from people that are not really familiar with gacha games.
Right.
And this means that they are not really familiar with some of the less talked about bad traits on the gacha game, because not everybody listens to Gathering of Gachas, unfortunately. So
Sadly.
really, it's their fault.
Yeah, clearly.
But yeah, right now, I think to summarize it, resin is king.
Yep.
Resin being the game's stamina system that's not called stamina, because stamina is the game's endurance system. But yeah, you get a lot of activities on the main sources of adventure rewards and the main rewards, good artifacts and the likes. You get them by spending resin, and you get a lot of the battle pass activities by spending resin as well. And at this point, resin is very much on short supply, and you don't really have an active way to get more. So it's frustrating a lot of people. And honestly, they are kinda shooting themselves in the foot in that regard. Because while that's happening, they're adding an event that is a way to spend resin as well, on top of every other ways to spend resin that are already a little bit much by many people's standards. So yeah, resin, get your resin, spend your resin, and get it to get the money you need, and the XP you need, and the materials you need.
Yeah, this sort of system feels like it makes a lot more sense on mobile than it ever did in a console setting or in a PC game setting.
Yeah, but even on mobile, the point of contention there for many of the mobile players is that the resin, the stamina, the resin in Genshin is static. It is 120 and it stays 120. And in all other games,
You can
raises
increase
the
the cap,
when
yeah.
you level up, and they are not used to that.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, that's not what I would call great design either, to be perfectly honest.
Agreed.
And there's actually I think, 3 fronts on the resin front at the moment. One is the player that is not coming from a gacha background, who is just finding out that after all the story is done, they cannot farm the bosses because the resin blocks them. Then there's the gacha players who just find that it's regenerating too slowly, that the cap is not raising, and that restocking resin with primo gems is 1, capped, and 2, primo gems are so rare that they don't want to do it.
Understandable.
Yeah, it's costly.
And then there's the content creators who are begging for ways to make content, but they can't because they don't have resin.
Yeah.
Yeah, this seems like everyone's kind of opposed to this system, as it turns out.
Yeah, but
Very much so.
On a positive note, yesterday, or was it on Friday, the official moderators on Reddit and on Discord for Genshin Impact by MiHoYo, they asked everyone to please send in more feedback about resin, because they are actually looking at it, it appears.
Yeah.
Okay, so
They're going
hopefully
to
then
have
something
to
comes
work on
from
it.
this. I'm hoping they don't make the decision of, oh, we're making enough money, so this is clearly working fine.
I hope too, because MiHoYo is not known for paddling back, rather doubling down from the other game they have.
Oh.
Yeah. And by the way, they did make a lot of money. They've essentially recouped the entire 100 million development budget by week 2.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, good for them. But yeah, clearly there's...
The game is successful, but it has a lot of paths to be improved upon.
Yes.
Because, yeah, a lot of people... Well, the thing is that the world is vast and conducive to exploration and nudges you towards exploration and is satisfying, but ultimately the world is finite.
Right.
And the content that is not finite is, for most of it, resin-locked.
Yep.
So that's the way a lot of people are going from freedom of exploration to a feeling of constraint. And that's not a backlash that's going to be acceptable for too long.
The honeymoon period is over now, and many people are finding out what, at least in my opinion, is a fact about this game. It's not a main game. It's a game you play from update to update.
Yeah.
Which is kind
Speaking of updates, we do have a roadmap now, a little.
Okay.
Yeah, because there were some fake leaks about version 1.1 and things like that, and a lot of it ended up being debunked. But conveniently, we have official word to come by now. First in Chinese and translated, but that took a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually the news did reach us. So the short of it is that we will have version 1.1 6 weeks after launch, so like 3 weeks for now, give and take a few days. And version 1.1 will be the inclusion of some events that should be more impactful than the event that's currently active now. That's more of an activity than an event, I'd call that.
I was not a fan of what I played of Elemental Crucible, gotta be honest. That was very boring.
We'll come back to it, but there's a lot to criticize there too.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll have something more substantial in 1.1 in 3 weeks. And then should be 6 weeks later, I believe, that they will have, I think basically in December, version 1.2, which will add Inazuma, a new region.
And 1.3 will be in January. They said they have a 6-week rhythm for their updates.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean, say, new characters every 6 weeks, because we'll get characters and the ones on the forefront and some that are essentially in the game but we can't summon for yet on a bit of a faster rhythm, at least for now.
Like the aforementioned Xiao.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get
or
the
Clay.
we get the next limited, which is Klee on Tuesday.
You say Klee, you traitor to your own language?
And then with 1.1, I think there are 4 characters coming.
Rana, explain that?
Mondstadt is a very German-inspired town.
Right.
And in German, a character named Klee, you would pronounce it Klee.
Ah.
That's correct.
And Geister is German, but pronounces it Klee.
Geister is also thinking in English.
Me too. But I still think Klee sounds better.
The character sounds awesome. I played her quest.
Yes, she does, because while she's not summoner level 4, she is already in the game as a unit you can play during a quest you can unlock at Adventurer level 32.
Right.
And she's adorable.
She is tiny and throws explosives everywhere.
She's essentially Ziggs from League of Legends.
And also the explosives are her friends, so people who want her to not make things explode are mean and evil.
And she's really afraid of the evil Jean.
Yeah. Which is shown like with pointy teeth and demon horns in a promo video, which is essentially her drawing a storybook about how she ends up locked in solitary confinement.
Yeah, I did run into the NPC that mentions her, so...
Yeah. But yeah, that will be in a few hours, I believe. Or maybe a day or two.
As of recording, yes.
At most two. Yeah. But yeah, point being, they will have characters coming by more often than the big feature updates that should be on a 6-week cycle. We've run it back to that. Now let's talk about the Elemental Crucible.
Okay. This was boring.
Yes, it was, and it's worse than boring, I believe.
Please, explain.
So, the principle of the thing is that you get this 1 point in the eastern part of Mondstadt that you can activate to initiate an event that's co-op only. You need 4 players.
Mm-hmm.
And you are automatically matched if you don't have 4 players.
Mm-hmm.
And there are enemies that spawn. When you kill them, you get some cubes. Then when you kill some bigger ones, you get some waves of cubes, and then they all match an element, and then you do some more killing, and eventually you get all of the cubes inside of the furnace, and you get, yay, things have been completed.
Yep.
Over the main interest of the cubes is that they are of a certain element, and if you pick cubes from another element, the cubes you have on hand disappear. Also, if you get shot by another element, the cubes explode because you're affected by the status effect, depending on the cubes you're carrying.
I don't think I've seen the explosion in the bits I tried.
Well, it's more that, say, you're transporting lightning cubes, and a firebolt hilichur shoots you. Then you get the elemental reaction for fire and lightning, which is overload, and that makes you explode.
Yeah, that does in fact make...
And also the cubes disappear. So you have to kind of be careful or try to dodge while you're carrying cubes. And overall it's a bit messy in itself. Also, okay, there's this stat called elemental efficiency. Geister, can you tell me exactly and in what quantities it works to raise your elemental efficiency?
No, because
neither. Because that is
really
confusing
understand that aspect of the event.
Yeah.
Good.
Also, Spacebird in chat said desyncing was horrible, and the color difference between white and yellow is close enough that he couldn't tell the difference. So these are already big problems with this event as well.
Oh, I don't have.
Agreed on both
I didn't
counts.
have problems with white and yellow, but I have problems with yellow and orange.
Either way, color differentiation and colorblind mode, guys, accessibility, what are you doing?
Indeed. As for the desync part, well, a couple of hours before recording, we had a group which was Des, Geister, me, and Spacebird doing some runs trying to get the harder achievement, which is to do it under 3 minutes.
I somehow got that one by accident. Please don't tell me how.
Well,
I probably.
just by being fast.
You probably had a group with D-Log in it.
No, I had a... I don't think I've ever run with Diluc. I had a Venti.
Yeah, I mean, I think you owe it more to the fact that you had high-level characters joining your world when your world was low-level.
That's pretty fair, yes.
And so, yeah, you have to do it. We had to do it fast, and we had to juggle with some syncing problems. Like a time where Des was complaining that he couldn't give the cubes because on our side we are seeing his character just running on the side of a pillar repeatedly. and overall, I think with both its co-op reliance, meaning the way it shows the co-op problems,
Right.
desyncing and the likes, and the energy cost, because to get the rewards for the event, you need to spend 40 resin, and you only get rewards that are kind of close to spending the exact same values on 2 experience ley lines.
Which are pathetically easy, yes.
This activity is a great demonstration of some of the worst things the game has to offer.
Yep.
And I kinda get that it's a way to at least say we're doing something right now, so it's not just you won't get anything to do for the next 6 weeks, but it's very much kind of a rush thing, which with rewards that kind of aren't worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do we have any more junk to complain about? Other element to
let's
talk about
see.
in this
We've
game?
covered AoE jank. We've covered
Claiming jank?
claiming jank. That's new.
Climbing.
Climbing. No, I have covered that. I've gotten caught in geography. I've gotten stuck upside down. I've gotten dumped out of the world once or twice. This was very similar to my experience with Breath of the Wild, but at no point did either of those problems have anything to do with my issues of quitting either game.
Yeah, like, the game has solid enough fundamentals that it can get away with a lot.
Yeah,
But
I
it won't
understand
get
that
away
bugs
with
are going to happen, and
everything.
frankly, bugs can be funny.
Yeah. So yeah, there's issues. The game will have to work on those.
Mm-hmm.
I still like the game, even though, again, my string of bad luck has been pretty unrelenting. But at least I'm glad that they've managed to communicate and clarify, even if it wasn't in a direct fashion at first, about the way the quote-unquote limited character events work with the pity system. Where essentially the character events are a type of banner, and you get pity by types of banner. So the pity from the Venti banner carries over to the Clay banner, the pity from the weapon banners carry to the next weapons banner, and so on and so forth. And it wasn't 100% clear at first, and it was answered by somebody who asked tech support and communicated to everybody else.
Yeah, I think it was Tectone who asked.
Yeah. And I'm glad we got the news, because doing informed decisions is pretty good.
Yes.
Now I will make the informed decision of moving on to Fire Emblem Hero.
Well, Well, while I was checking Fire Emblem Heroes myself... Well, I'll tell you that later. But anyway, first things first, we've got new units.
Yay! New units!
It's from 3 houses. This time...
Oh boy.
This
Haven't
time
had those in a long while.
Yeah, a whole, week or something, right?
Hmm?
It's like it's the new hotness or something.
Yeah. But this time it's new characters from 3 houses. This time they are releasing several characters from the Church of Ceres. These are the members of the Church of Ceres. We've got Catherine, we've got Sedith,
Good.
we got Flane, and we got Shamir. So,
All good people.
they are good people indeed. Especially if you don't side with you-know-who during Crimson Flower. So, let's see here. So, let me see what they have in store.
Yes, I do know who. The only character in that game worth caring about.
Well, I went the church road, so
Mm-hmm. So, first we got Catherine.
opposite.
We got Catherine, who got her trusty Thunderbrand. And despite she only has 2 special passives, she's still a fast and powerful unit, at least. Which she can have a guaranteed follow-up attack before enemy can counterattack, which is nice. And we've got Flane, who is our very first non-Fire Emblem Heroes or / Choose Your Legends winning entries staff user that has a unique weapon, which called Caduceus Staff, which has a unique gimmick which, when there's allies within her in 2 spaces, those units will get some nice damage reduction. More mitigation, and it stacks with some of the skills like Repel, Close Call, and Spurn.
Okay, so it's not just a defense buff.
Mm-hmm. She's morally
Interesting.
support. She's morally support. But the weapon itself has a wrathful staff effect, so it will not come out weak. It will calculate just like any other weapons that it can do massive damage. And there's a brand new staff here which is called Rescue, which she can heal that ally and swap spaces with that ally.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to do rescue in this game.
Mm-hmm. And we've
Not
got
the most elegant, but sure.
Mm-hmm. And our resident boomer of 3 houses, Sedith, who is our 4-star focus. He got his signature spear.
Aw, Sedef is only 4-star, that's dirty. My man deserved more.
Oh no, don't worry about him. He got his unique spear, Spear of Asal.
It wasn't even truly his.
Well,
But he did borrow it.
spoilers alert, but I'm not gonna tell you about Sedith's true identity is. But anyway, Spear of Assault, it's not an advanced weapon, luckily. It's not a plus type. You know what? Even though
No.
he's a 4-star focus, he's still really good. Unlike someone we know from the previous 3 houses bash that gave him injustice by the name of Ferdinand von Ayer. Yeesh. So he got Swap, Brazen Attack Speed, and Drive Attack for some of his passive skills. He's still serviceable. We're just gonna have to wait for his maximum stats for a Lance Flyer. I hope he's really good.
Okay.
Better ride that Wyvern.
And we got our Shamir, another character that is voiced by Allegra Clark, which also voiced Dorothea, who made her first appearance as a summer alternate last July or August. She's a green bow user this time, and she finally got one skill that is what people most wanted of from the Rouse category. Rouse attack speed for her C passive. And she got a really neat weapon which is called Survivalist Bow. it's pretty much a solo-based mechanic, so she has to be alone to get some stat passives, and she can prevent enemies' counterattacks if her HP or her enemy's HP is more than 80%. They are going to be debuted by tonight or tomorrow, prior to the... I keep on forgetting that term. Prior to this recording.
Right? Time of recording.
This time of recording, yeah, thank you. So they're going to be out tonight or tomorrow, which is going to be in 12 hours from now. And my rating here, they're really good. They're going to be a part of the new story chapter for Book 4, Chapter 12. And we got our Grand Hero battle up. Our Grand Hero unit for this time is Nemesis, which is the bad guy for the Golden Deer route, and he has a dark sword of creator. And if you're looking at the trailer, if you watch it a few days ago, you will see something that is a bit awkward. Am I seeing the summoner wielding Alphonse's Folkvanger weapon? I think I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
Why is that relevant? Because I'm confused.
Because looking at the trailer, we got a new story chapter, and then this picture appeared. It is the player, the summoner, wielding a sword weapon. We're gonna fight against ourselves.
Oh.
No, interesting.
No, not so far.
Unless it's used as a shorthand for a generic unit.
Yeah, but either way, if you people are already up to date with the Book 4 story, the summoner is entirely absent except for cutscenes. But that's why he is missing from the Order of Heroes, while the group is in the Realm of Dreams and the Realm of Nightmares. So what is going to happen to this guy? I mean, us, per se.
Dream shenanigans, clearly.
Either
right there.
Either we're still dreaming or not, we'll find out with Chapter 12 in 12 hours from now. So, let's see here. We got... Okay, so Hall of Forms is up next. The unit batch this time will be from Fire Emblem Fates. And the units that will be appearing, that are appearing, that you can train and shape to whatever scales that you want, is the dream characters, the dream versions of Camilla and the male and female Corans, and another addition, the dancing knight Xander, who is in his yukata and a throwing dagger. It's funny. His dancing animation is pretty quirky, still nice. So how will you build them? Good luck. And of course, there's still orbs to get, dragon flowers, and divine code ephemera number 10. So
Stuff.
it's nice.
Stuff is good. Gathering stuff. We like that. Especially when it's free.
Of course, but it's still hard the farther you get from the Hall of Forms, so you still need to plan them carefully. And okay, so one more thing that I'm going to mention. Double Special Heroes are back! Yay! This is one of the few banners I've suffered, and finally, like 30 minutes later, while the folks are talking, I finally got one of the featured characters there. Finally!
Congrats.
I finally got the young version of Merrick, who is one of the fastest green mages now because of his mechanic.
Right on.
That's 8% pity, guys. He's small, but he's really terrifying. So the featured characters in the Double Special Heroes, besides the young version of Merrick, we've got the bridal version of Oboro from Fates, the young version of Marth, the groom version of Raphael from Radiant Dawn with his wife, Nyla, a green-based unit, the duo couple of Micaiah and South from Radiant Dawn, our very first harmonic duo hero, Mia and the masked excuse me, Mia and Masked Marth from Radiant Dawn / Awakening, and we got Narcian, the spring version of Narcian from Binding Blade. So the 4-star focuses are Marth, Raphael, and Narcian, but everybody else, including these guys, are 5-star. And to make it really good, the regular 5-star units are not available in this banner, so you can get...
Alright, so that's targeted. Nice.
It's like the legendary hero, mythic hero banner, except these ones are all limited time seasonals. Since several banners later, they discontinued releasing special heroes in limited legendary and mythic heroes. So they get their own banner that's only available for 2 weeks. So it's it's nearly a week now, and there's another week more. They're going to leave at October 26. Whew. I really suffered a lot in this banner just to get one small child with a wind magic. And then 3 houses banner just happened. What a disaster. I'm out of farmable orbs, so don't be like me, guys. I had my favorites, and I paid for it.
I'm short of resources pretty much everywhere.
Well, a few days later, I finally got the Halloween duo Tiki and Ninian, which also cost me a lot. Blimey. But anyway, good luck to those who are going to summon for these limited time special heroes. Good luck later tonight for those who are looking forward to get their favorite 3 houses characters that's gonna be on the new chapter. And one more thing, Tempest Trials is ending tonight. Prior to this recording, of course.
Right.
So get those orbs gained, the free unit Ina, and some of the sacred seals and elemental blessings. Whew. That's it for Fire Emblem Heroes. Now let's talk about World Divisions. I heard the character that Erika Mendez voiced is finally there. Tell us about it.
War of the Visions indeed. Should be pretty brief. Honestly, I haven't been playing the game really that actively this day because I have this kind of natural, unwanted, but kind of happen this way that I have a sort of soft 2 simultaneous gacha games limit. And right now I'm mostly playing FFII and Genshin Impact, so War of the Visions is falling a bit off the wayside. I still do my dailies and everything, but not really going after some of the more deeper content, not doing any refreshes or anything like that. Still, this is a nice way to at least consolidate my roster, and I'm spending my resources buying shards for every unit that I do have. Now then, as far as the new units, so first we have Glaciella Wazette.
Glaciella Wazette.
And she is a Valkyrie, which is a unique variation of a spear-wielding job. Unlike what her name might suggest, she is water elemental and not ice elemental.
Okay.
And that's because the other unit is ice elemental, and it would be even weirder if it was another element. So she had to take the hit.
Why not just release 2 ice elemental characters?
Because apparently they didn't want that.
Okay. Is there a mechanical reason why, or they're just going for variety?
No, that's just going for variety.
Okay.
So she has a role as a bit of a finisher. Because you have more options these days to build the chain somewhat, but you do it over the course of several actions, but then you hit the damage cap, which is fixed at 9,999 damage per hit by default. Glaciella can go through that. Some equipables like Esper cards or Vision cards and the likes can help go a bit over that, but she innately has the ability to go over it if there's already a chain active with her LB. But let's deal up to 20,000 damage.
20,000? Whoa! That's devastating. Wait, how much HP does the enemies have now? If 20,000 is overkill.
Not necessarily. Like the two-headed dragon on the last big event had 100,000 HP. So that's not overkill. That's just kill. Anyway, she always has some pretty big damage. Some of it instant, which means that she goes around one of the main weakness dragoons have. And overall, she has this just big wall as a big ol' spear you in the face and hope you die kind of card. The other unit that shares her time on the banner is none other than Leswell.
Who doesn't have a last name for some reason. Moving on.
Unlike Glaciella was at indeed.
Okay.
So Leswell also has a bit of a damage dealer role, but he's more of a tank buster with an innate defense pierce in his LB.
Wait,
he even
he's a
can
tank?
No, tank buster. He hits tanks.
Oh, like
he
tank
even
slayers.
can, if you wanna call them that, sure. He even has some innate accuracy as part of his master ability in order to hit the Dutch tanks as well. And yeah, he basically goes after the big guy. Got your favorite, most sought after tiny attack in Mirror of Equity. He has the ability to grant himself Mirage, which is pretty nice if you have one turn where you don't really know what to do. And then he can also dispel enemy buffs with Finger Snap. And generally do samurai things. He even has Dragoon as one of his subjects somehow.
Dragoon?
Dragoon.
Yeah, he is a Knight of Gruntseld Samurai, so far so good, and Dragoon somehow.
That one makes the least amount of sense, gotta be honest.
I agree 100%.
Can you remind me, what does Rain have?
He's a magic attacker. He gets Knight,
yes.
but he's primarily like fire magic.
Yes, indeed. Conveniently, though, the return of our collab FFBE unit does mean that we have on our side banner Freyevia that came back even though she's limited. So they've returned her this way, and her shards are dropping pretty often for those that may not have completed her. So that's pretty much it as far as the unit. There's an MR, but it's not that interesting.
Okay.
So let's move on to the second week that included a story event.
Okay, story event.
The story of the game still has some potential of sorts, but the more the main story in particular goes, the more it dramatically one thing and one thing only, and that's resolution. You cannot fire off 20 different plot threads without resolving any single one of them. Please start holding some of your plot lines. Thank you very much. They are very good in a vacuum.
There was a game I played recently that had that exact problem, but I'm trying to remember which one it was.
well, it's not a problem unique for this game, that's for sure.
Yeah,
But in
apparently.
any case, as far as the story event goes, it's the story of Goga and Saiga, the two ninja villages, and how they were on the verge of getting along together. This was not meant to be and only served to reinforce the hatred the two ninja villages feel for each other.
Okay.
So, yay for tragedy. Ninja tragedy. Anyway, then we have a new summon. And that's Titan.
Okay.
So Titan is Earth Elemental, of course.
If he wasn't, that would
And
be a shame.
Yes. And of course, as Titan, being this big giant with this big rocky fist, he supports... Guess what type of character?
Clearly casters.
You joke, but he doesn't support monks. He supports dragoons. He's the best dragoon esper right now.
Interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, he is just a good old summon with a CG, so that does mean he matters.
He's valid, yes.
Yes. But other than that, if you don't really have any much dragon support, he's just kind of there. And speaking of things that are definitely there, we have a new raid.
Raid.
And I've reached the point where I am literally not doing it. I've let it pop one time, disturbing my playstyle, and I am just not doing that.
Congratulations, I reached that point 3 months ago.
Yeah, no, the way this interrupts the game and takes tons of overtime just to get some rewards. And I mean, the new reward on top of the previous ones you can still obtain is pretty nice. That's how you get Laswell's Purple Lightning.
Right.
But I don't have any katana users I'm actively using, and I don't care enough to do this raid thing right now. So I'm sorry, Behemoth King, I'm just not going to fight. Besides, you're weak to spears, and I don't have any spearmen I'm using.
Okay.
And that is my conclusion for World Visions. Which leads us to our main topic of the day.
And our main topic for the day is...
Shiny Syndrome.
Main topic of...
What causes us to spend our hard-earned hoard?
Oh boy.
Requested by Days, I believe. Well... For me, I think that... essentially, there's two ways this can work. One is just a war of attrition, essentially. You cannot save for a horde if you never have a horde to begin with. Which is essentially my current situation on pretty much every game, and will be in Genshin 2 once the next banner rolls through.
That was definitely my situation at Genshin. I was spending my gems on summons as soon as I could collect enough to get them for no effect whatsoever.
I just want 1 5-star, okay? One.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't
then
it?
I'll consider saving.
Just
Yeah.
one. Just one.
Just one.
Not like my 5th Barbara.
Yeah. So that's one way things can work out. But besides individual units, it can also involve things like the 5-star guaranteed banners in FFII and the generally good deals that don't let you chase after a unit specifically,
Right.
but just gives you ways to spend your resources and feel good about it, hopefully.
Hopefully.
As far as the other, essentially, the question only works if you flip it completely, for me. Well, it's not that I have something that triggers me to spend, it's that I have things that trigger me to hoard. Like, say, the original Situation Toto and Edel, which I stayed for, and then this was when I burned the hoard I've made. And basically I need to look ahead to save, and then I basically need an objective. And once it's there, well, if I have another, great. If not, we're in perma-spending mode.
I've been in that mode before.
At least not perma-real money spending, thankfully.
Yes.
Well, for me here, Fire Emblem Heroes is one. I sometimes save for legendary or mythic heroes, and then this one just came to play just this month when the Halloween versions of Tiki and Ninian came, and then special heroes came with that young Merrick. I burned a lot of my hard-earned orbs.
Okay, but what in particular about them made you burn it?
Either it's either because they're children, they have high stats, they have good kits, utility.
So you like the murder kit?
Mm-hmm. Which Galen hates for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
And
something about child soldiers just makes me angry.
Yeah. That also really bothers me, but one bit, I'll be honest, but...
Boy, am I looking forward to the clear banner.
Why?
She's a little kid.
Have you seen her?
I've seen the screenshot. She's a little kid.
Oh.
She's a murder kid.
Holy.
In fact, they even make it so in her dungeon there are lasers that other characters get hurt by, but she doesn't because she's so small she goes under them. They actually take that into account in the character's hitbox.
That would be such a cool thing to explore if it wasn't gacha locked. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about this.
Actually, in that quest you get her.
I know, but not regularly, is my point.
Yeah. Geister, given that you have both this collector's mindset and the fact that you juggle between a lot of games at the same time, what makes you hoard and what makes you spend on these games?
Here's the problem, I have no impulse control.
Okay, thank you for your participation.
Okay!
So I never have hoards.
You cannot burn your hoard if you don't have a hoard.
No, I have actually several systems in check that prevent me to spend money to refill.
That's good, that's useful, that's important.
Yeah, but saving for a character doesn't seem to be a thing you're likely to do by the sounds of it.
No, not really.
Okay.
Even in games where I tell everyone save for the limited, the rest will come, I spend because I just want to summon.
Yeah, just because that's a responsible advice doesn't mean it's necessarily the thing you're going to do.
My main game is Epic 7, and they have limited characters in regular intervals, and most of the time the limited characters are really good. Sometimes not, but most of the time. And I tell everyone, you need to save, you need to get the limited no matter what, because you never know if the next combination of OP will involve this character or its artifact. But me, I can wake up and decide I want to summon today, so let's burn all my bookmarks.
Yeah.
That sounds like me back then. I have no self-control. And it's just horrible. Really horrible.
Yeah, and I imagine it's more or less impactful depending on the way the game's pity systems work, with things like full step-ups in FFB before that did need you to hoard for significant amounts of resources compared to, say, the way Genshin works.
I have to say,
even
FFB,
individual summons
FFB is still the worst summon experiences I have because of the atrocious amounts of off-banners I am getting in FFB.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that game is particularly bad about that. But it's also, like, a lot of tools in the toolkit which can make for some cool strats, so on and so forth. I try to love my off-banners.
Yeah, of course. But if you really... The thing I still remember is back in the days when I wanted CG Fina. And I ended up getting 5 Konshiras, which was a great character, but I didn't want to.
Yeah, no, I got you.
That's
I only got
ridiculous.
CG Fina 3 months later when she was rerun.
In chat, Tom says, saving for me is announce an FF6 unit.
Sympathize. I can sympathize with that. Very, very much so.
Yeah. But the fact that it starts on announcement, essentially it gives a timeline for the Horde to exist.
Pretty much.
And it does require, for it to work, a game that's on a more advanced part of the timeline. Like, it needs the JP version to have enough time to hold on the GL version. So games that don't really have this advanced warning, I imagine it's a little bit more uncertain to do these sorts of decisions.
I was really trying to hoard now in Genshin because the batch of characters that is coming with 1.1 has one character I really like, but the next banner has a 50% chance to get Sucrose as a 4-star, and I really want to max Constellation.
I go Sucrose.
Okay, so Space actually gave some math to us. He just did the numbers in Genshin, and a 5-star.
Yeah, I did the same numbers.
Yeah, $200 US without considering in-game resources, which is.
And that's to have a unit guaranteed on the banner. To have the on-banner unit guaranteed, you have to double that. Because if you don't have it in 180 pools, you get it.
Pretty much. For me, I was always more of a rise and fall guy myself. Like, I actually would be okay skipping banners. I would be okay building a horde, even at my high spending periods, because I was always looking for specific things, and those things fall into 2 very specific categories. 1, characters I just plain like, or 2, skill holes, which is actually a philosophy I brought with me to Arknights, even if I have yet to spend a single penny on pulls in that game. Oh, no, that's not true. There was one banner, which was a guaranteed 6-star, which did cost cash, and I did buy that. But that was a guaranteed 6-star. Never mind, I'm moving on. Generally speaking, I have yet to spend a single resource that I had to pay for on pulls. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
So there are 3 basic resources in the game for pulling units. There is your Arundrum, which I call red, just in general, because it's red-colored. And that is... You get that to the tune of about 3,000 per week, 6,000 if you're like me and have the weekly card. And that just comes in... And you spend that, it's 6k for 10 pull on the banner, which is, generally speaking, more than you're ever going to need on a banner, because unless you're specifically hard pulling, you're only going to go to the bonus, which you want a single pull for anyway, until you get it, because that'll come in under 10 and save you resources. The second one are the Originite Primes, which can be converted down to red, but mostly those are used to buy bundles and costumes. I've used that for pulls exactly once, and that was the very, very beginning of the game when I had Rai, who we call the High Priest of RNGesus, because his luck is ridiculous, do a pull for me at lunch one time at Big Walk. And the last one are distinctions. And these are a secondary currency you get from pulling 4 stars or better, generally speaking. 180 of them you can buy a 6-star that's on the shop. We talked about this a few times now. A couple weeks ago, we had a Shafala on the shop, which was huge.
And Genshin does have the same system, but for 4-star base. So
yes, never a 5-star base, whereas in...
Well, for now.
For now.
The game is too young to really confirm this trend.
Correct.
It's very possible it will be at 4-star.
Whereas Arknights, there's always been a 5-star and always been a 6-star and a 5-star on the distinction shop. It rotates every 2 weeks with a standard banner. again, 2 weeks ago we had Asia Follow, which was gigantic, and that actually, like, was important enough that it made the news here, because it's like, you want her if you don't already have her. And even if you do, you may consider her for dupes.
I agree.
Yes, she is that good. I finally got her. I bought her. I'm currently working on her skill mastery now, which is going to be a process.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But, yeah, generally speaking, they all kind of fall into the same thing. The primes I only ever buy with bundles. I only ever buy costumes with. I've never spent them on a banner except for that one time back at the very beginning of the game, and that was just because I didn't have enough at the time so that Rye could do a pull. That was it. That was, like, the week 2 of all of Arknights. I've been playing for, like, what, 10 months now it's been out? And then the red I spend every week. Generally speaking, every new banner I will spend up to bonus unless I'm going for a specific character. And so far those characters have been not Schwarz, scratch that. Schwarz's banner, but just for distinctions for Nightingale. I want to make that clear. The actual hard pulls have been Chen, Neon, Siobi, and that's been it so far. I was planning on doing it for Rosa, but she showed up in my second 10 pull, so I still was able to maintain most of my horde at that point. Rosa...
Yeah, sometimes you just plan to spend all of your resources on a unit, and you get it on the first pull.
Yeah, and when that happens, I'm happy, because there's always more people to get. I was scared to pull for Rosa, because Rosa came early. In Hong Kong, she came after W, who was at the time my next major target and the second limited unit in the game. I really, really, really want W.
Actually, that happened with the last limited in Epic 7 for me. The character came after 7 pulls, and I was prepared to spend all my resources on her. So I spent all my resources and max imprinted her.
Nice.
Okay.
That's a way to handle that. Anyway, we got Rosa early, and I lucked into her, so I didn't have to blow my entire W horde on Rosa, which was thankful for that.
Yeah, I did not have luck with Rosa, sadly.
Oof. I feel like she's kind of in a metaphysical, like, REM situation for me. I really wanted her because I'm a big supporter of, like, the Ursa student union as a group in that game, and I'm like, I really want her, and then I got her quickly because there was just some power in the universe that just made that happen.
You should not have mentioned Rem. This means I will get Rosa in 4 years.
Oh no, I'm sorry! Did I
because
steal
I
your
really,
Rosa?
really wanted Rem in FFPE, and I got her 2 months ago.
Oh no!
Well, I believe the main objective of this podcast, which is to cuss Geister, has been accomplished.
I think so. I believe you put the stamp on that.
Point as I need to wrap up.
Yep. Well, I wanted to finish my statement first because I was actually not done.
Okay.
And then the last one of the distinctions, which are simple. I save them for units I don't already have every time. I have bought some serious powerhouses on the distinction shop. I bought Nightingale, who is one of my top healers. I bought Siege, who is my outright favorite unit in the entire game. I bought Asia Fala, who, at least in terms of firepower, is a strong second place for that role. I feel like there was one other 6-star that I bought. I bought a few 5-stars. I bought Meteorite for 45 distinctions as opposed to the 180 for a 6-star. And she's become one of my top damage dealers because do not underestimate your lower rarities in Arknights ever. So yeah, of those 3 resources, they all kind of fall into the same category. The primes are, I never spend them on anything but costumes, so those I spend with every new costumes that I don't already have every time. 100%. I don't care if I like them. Second is the reds, which I actually spend every week up to bonus unless I'm hard saving. And third are the distinctions, which I always save. So that's kind of my philosophy on horde spending. And I tend to be fairly controlled in that regard, and I'm kind of proud of myself for that, considering my issues in FFBE.
I don't know what I'm about to say for this. Back then, I was a really impulsive spender.
You were, and then you get down on yourself for spending at all, and I'd have to, like, kind of rein you in and go, no, you got X, Y, or Z instead, you're fine.
Well, at least there is one point that I did save so much. Which is here in Fire Emblem Heroes, when I recently returned.
There you go.
And then, around the time that I was supposed to be spending only a few orbs, or let's say all of my resources on the recent Mythic Hero banner with that Lewd Fairy. Funny thing, I got all of the red focus units in 24 orbs plus the free summon. So those 100 something orbs that I got ultimately ended up with the Halloween banner plus this one, the special heroes thing.
All right. That sounds good.
Well, I can say this is a blessing in disguise for some reason, but at the same time, there is also a little bit of regret in it, because sometimes bad luck is no longer the factor anymore. It's all about the available resources that you can still farm or obtain. And with that, I don't even have any left until later campaigns or special promotions. And this is not even involving spending for either a subscription thing or waiting for your arena spoils to be rewarded the next day. It's supposed to be in 24 hours or so.
And that actually brings us to the hardest part of hoarding at all, and that is once you do spend it, starting to rebuild it again.
Yeah.
Yep.
And worst case scenario, a character that you really love that suddenly appeared, and there's this... You suddenly feel that you say, "Oh dear God, I can't believe this."
Mm-hmm.
It's a cycle. It's always a cycle.
It is, which is... I know we joked about the show's main goal cursing Geister, which is a nice secondary goal, but our true main goal is to keep people as informed and help them develop a plan whenever possible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And cursing Geister, let's not forget.
I mean, honestly, if cursing Geister is your plan, you are 100% in the target demographic for this show.
Exactly.
So thank you for listening.
Sorry again for mentioning Rem.
Oh boy.
And with that, I think that is going to be all the time we have for this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you again, Geister, for joining us.
With pleasure.
And we will be back.
And wait, wherever you are, Ryan, best wishes again. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mazel Tov.
Congratulations.
And with that, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be back next time with more of the games you love to hate. Have a good one, y'all.
Enjoy,
Goodbye.
everybody.